Well, good morning, everyone. It's an honor to welcome you here to Washington University. I'm thrilled that you're making the time to come and participate in this event. And I need to begin by thanking many who were involved in facilitating and enabling this event, beginning with the HAQAST leadership and organizers, Tracey Holloway and Jenny Bradford, who have made this much easier than it otherwise could be. Many thanks to the local event planners who hopefully you've had a chance to meet. Wonderfully warm people, Tammy Haney, Cindy Alvarez, and Courtney Shaw, who I think are outside. They just closed the door. I don't think they have a chance to hear this, but they have been fabulous in enabling the logistics behind this. I need to thank a photographer at WashU who at the last minute is available to take a group photo. This will be at 4:45 in between the poster introductions and the posters themselves. It'll be on a staircase outside of Brookings Hall between where we are here at the Knight Center and in the engineering building where we'll be having our poster session and dinner. And my group will help facilitate moving all of us together over to that photo, which will occur at 4:45. I need to thank NASA for generous support for the facilities that we're enjoying here today at the Knight Center, as well as tomorrow. I also need to thank my department chair for generous support for the refreshments that we're enjoying here at the Knight Center today and tomorrow, as well as for the dinner that we'll be enjoying during our poster session this evening. I also need to thank and welcome the Vice Provost at WashU, Mary McKay, who has been involved in leadership about an exciting initiative that has connections with HAQAST. And at this point, I'll turn the podium over to her. Please join me in welcoming Vice Provost Mary McKay.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning. Let me just make sure in the green shirt. Can you hear me okay back there? Wonderful. Thank you very, very much. So, Dr. Martin, I just want to say thank you for the invitation, and I won't take too long of your program because you have incredible work, but I did want to ground this particular day in the ambitions of our university, of WashU. We are engaged in a 10-year strategic planning process that is called Here and Next. And those slides, I saw them for a minute. But I can do this. I've done this so many times that even if they don't pop up, our strategic plan, our 10-year strategic plan is referred to as Here and Next. There it is with some green concentric circles. Thank you. And I just want to connect it to the ambitious work that all of you do and the importance of this collaboration to our university and to our faculty. And so Here and Next is guided by a pretty action-oriented vision around how do we, as an institution of higher learning, how do we mobilize our research, our education, our patient care to establish our university, but also this region is incredibly important to WashU as a global hub for transformative solutions to the deepest societal challenges. Now, what I think is interesting, because I travel with this slide, Dr. Martin, all the time, is that very action-oriented vision for our university, that really emphasis on how do we apply the knowledge that we are creating at a university like ours to thorny, really complex societal challenges. It's right next door to an ivory tower. You'll see Brookings. This is actually a rendering of Brookings, and that's the steps that you'll stand on. And so I think this slide is really meant to represent that, yes, we are knowledge creators in terms of high levels of scholarship, but then how we bring together teams of scientists to apply that knowledge and create new solutions is incredibly important to the ambitions of our university. So thankfully, on our team at Here and Next, we have really strong academic leaders. I'll talk about one of Randall's colleagues in just a moment. But we also have people who are not academics. They're communication specialists, they're implementation scientists. So this is the Washington University strategic plan on one slide. You know, no academic has ever done anything on one slide. And so I just want to orientate you to the goals of the university over the next decade and how you and some of this important work might fit as collaborators in this important ambition. So there's a research pillar, a people pillar at the heart of the strategic plan, as well as a community pillar. And within each of those pillars, there's a set of what we call strategic priorities. Opportunities that we think we have critical mass that we can actually contribute in an impactful way, opportunities that would set not only our university, but in collaboration with all of you, the opportunity to actually make a difference over the next decade. And so what are some of those strategic priorities? You fit into a number of these priorities. Environmental research is the easy and obvious one. But also many of you interact between the intersection of the environment and humans. So public health is a very strong strategic priority for Washington University. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. We really also want to connect our educational mission and really think about how do we really invest in people, whether they be our students, faculty, staff, collaborators, to really come together to make an impactful difference in some of these key areas. And also our region is incredibly important. We are Washington University in and for, and I might say because I come from a social work background with St. Louis, really thinking about how our region benefits and maybe even disproportionately benefits, from some of the work that we are doing here. But that also within that community pillar, it doesn't just focus on St. Louis, it focuses on what are the national and the global implications of our work. Global is pretty important. I don't know if any of you are engaged in kind of, global scholarship, but the notion behind this strategic plan is there's a bi-directional relationship with our global work, that we are certainly learning for what happens in our region, what happens in the nation, and really trying to impact global context, but the other way around too. About half of my portfolio is set outside the US. And so we are learning a lot about what could also influence the health outcomes or the environmental outcomes for our region. So in my last 1 minute or so, I'm going to focus in on environmental research. There is an incredible faculty member in engineering, Dan Jamar, who has led tens and tens and tens of faculty, staff, and students in the planning for a dedicated environmental research center. So you say, well, does WashU really need another center? You ask yourself, because we have plenty of those. This is a particular type of center that Washington University doesn't have as many of. It's an interdisciplinary center. It is not set in one school, but it is meant to be a magnet for faculty and staff and students to contribute to areas of environmental research together as interdisciplinary teams. And so what are some of the focus areas of that center? You can see them here around environmental justice, environmental solutions, biodiversity, planetary health. But the notion being that in order to actually become a transformative hub, you need actually to pull people, which is why, Dr. Martin, when you wrote to me, I said, oh my gosh, I have to come meet you in person. I'd only met you in a Zoom square, but it was really important to me to connect both with you, but also with your group of colleagues around ways that you can continue on in your incredibly impactful stream of research, but also you can contribute to larger and larger teams with your area of expertise and your collaborators. So this Vision for Environmental Research Center will be led by folks across the schools at Washington University and certainly across the campuses. So with that, I just want to also, kind of decode our logo. There are these kind of overlapping circles. And although I'm not a graphic designer, our Sam Fox visual designers really wanted to make a point with this logo that none of these strategic priorities stand independently. So if you think about an environmental research center, it has to be a very strong partner with, for example, a new school of public health, which exists in that strategic priority area for Washington University. Washington University doesn't stand up schools often. I will tell you, this is the first school in 100 years that WashU is engaged in intensive planning and will embark in an accreditation process and a very rapid timeline. Why public health? Because we also see that new school as being a school for Washington University's future. Interdisciplinary by design. So Dr. Martin, you may get a request to have a portion of your work or your appointment affiliated with the School of Public Health. It's very important to us that at WashU, we think about the schools of the future as really pulling in our talent, our assets, and to make a greater and greater difference. And so public health will be the first school in 100 years to actually pull together faculty across the campuses and across the schools. Environmental health will clearly be a strong area of concentration. So with that, I'm happy to turn this microphone back to you. I'm happy to take any questions that you or others might have, but I just do want to wish you a really good day. Enjoy a long day. Come on over to Brookings. It's a beautiful day to be on campus. Yesterday, not so good. So you did very well with the day that you picked here in St. Louis. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that warm introduction. And now I'll turn it over to Tracey Holloway.
Thank you, Randall, and thank you so much, Vice Provost McKay. This is such a pleasure to be here at WashU in St. Louis. This beautiful facility. This meeting is off to a great start. And I'll be kicking off with a little bit of an overview about what our team does. And the first couple slides will be familiar to those of you who have been involved. Thank you. Familiar with those of you who've been involved with HAQAST activities for the past few years, or even going back over 10 years to the beginning of the first NASA applied science team, the air quality applied sciences team. But I always like to start to get us all on the same page, because we'll be spending a day and a half together discussing this major NASA initiative, and just to help clarify what we're doing, and then also update you on some cutting edge activities that even some of our team members may not have yet heard about. So with that, thank you, Jenny. I'm getting started. First of all, this acronym HAQAST, we pronounce it HAQAST, and you'll be hearing that term quite a bit over the next few days. And so this is a 4-year NASA funded initiative. It was competed through the competitive grant project called the Research Opportunities in Space and Earth Sciences. We're a 4-year initiative, and we're running through the beginning of 2025. The way this team is structured is that we have 14 members. Each member is the PI of their own grant, and are working with a network of collaborators, from stakeholder partners to students, postdocs, and other leading investigators. But really, the mission is to connect NASA science with air quality and health applications. So I often think of the work of HAQAST as a bridge, where on one side are billions of dollars of existing investment in Earth observations, and on the other side is any organization that could put those observations to good use. And so it's a really exciting interface to be at, and I'm so happy to be here today to share this meeting with all of you. You'll be hearing through the course of the day on 3 types of work. We have what we call member projects, and these are the projects that were proposed by the PIs and their collaborators when they applied to be on the NASA HAQAST team. These are moving ahead. There's also what we call tiger teams. These are projects that formed through the course of HAQAST, cutting across the 14 subgroups to address short-term immediate projects. And actually, we've just wrapped up the first round of tiger teams, and you'll be hearing a lot through the course of this meeting about the outcomes from those successful tiger team projects. We are also about to launch new tiger teams, but I'll say a little bit about that in a few slides. And finally, we do a lot of outreach engagement, and trying to respond to immediate problems as they pop up. So we recognize that not all problems even have the 12 or 18-month time horizon of a tiger team. And if you have immediate problems, we hope that you will reach out to our PIs or my team at Wisconsin, and we're happy to try to matchmake you or point you toward existing resources. So a little bit of history. HAQAST is really the third generation applied science team focused on air quality. The first was called the Air Quality Applied Sciences Team, called HAQAST, which ran from 2011 to 2016. It was recompeted in 2016 and then recompeted again in 2020. So the folks here, there's some folks that have been in previous generations as well, but we'll be referring to ourselves as HAQAST. And one of the reasons why NASA funds this team structure is that we found that it really changes the outcome. It increases the visibility of the work to end users. It builds a culture to support collaborations. It allows us to have these two-way conversations. It would be very difficult for individual PIs to be having with individual partners on their own. We can see what really works to meet partner needs and amplify it over the course of the 4-year activity. So our team, you'll meet many of these folks here, but the 14 PIs are listed here, representing major universities and government labs, literally stretching from Alaska down to Florida, and many places in between, like here at WashU and St. Louis. If you'd like to learn more about the bios of these folks and a lot of the work we've been doing, I encourage you to check out our website, which is haqast.org. We're also really excited to have a new program called the HAQAST Ambassadors Program. And the ambassadors, this is a program that anyone can apply to be part of, but these are high-level partners from organizations that are extra interested in being involved in the HAQAST project. We actually have lots of ways for partner organizations to plug in. We have a mailing list with over 1,000 people on it. We have a Twitter feed with about 5,000 followers. We have meetings that regularly draw about 300 attendees, both in person and online. But we realize that we want to be able to hear in a short turnaround from representatives who have really emerged as what we kind of locally call super users. And so these ambassadors are within organizations and trying to help us connect with communities on their own. And we'd especially like to welcome Doug, Alex, Byung, Leticia, and Amir, who are some of our ambassadors who are here at the meeting today. So I hope you'll talk to them about their experience. One of the projects that NASA has funded is us to have capacity to respond to the great ideas from our ambassadors. And my colleague, Jennifer McGinnis, has really been at the forefront of giving us bandwidth to respond to those ideas. And at our very first meeting of the NASA Ambassadors Program, the idea came up that it would be nice to have a flow chart, something that someone could sort of think about. How do you move from a problem to a solution? And this sounds really easy, and I thought maybe it could fit on one page. But actually, over many months, it has evolved to 55 pages, and it is growing. So this is not an easy project. Thank you, Jennifer. But we're going to try to put it onto an interactive website. If you would like to get a gander at it now, please feel free to reach out and we'll send you a copy. But this idea is that this is going to be an evolving problem, and we're trying to make it just as easy as possible for somebody to say, hey, I'm interested in looking at fine particulate matter, in this example, over what time scale, over what years, and this may lead you right here, for example, to Randall's group and his websites at WashU and St. Louis, or it may lead you to many of the other different NASA supported activities over the years. Another idea that came out of our ambassadors program is one that we actually have heard really for, I can say, a decade, which is the idea of having a user forum. And there are user forums that exist for technical NASA data, and there are other user forums that exist through EPA channels, but there's no platform for users from a wide range of backgrounds to come in and ask basic or technical questions about using satellite-derived data and other Earth observations for health and air quality applications. So We've launched the Health and Air Quality User Forum. The name can be changed based on feedback, but it's all online. So this is the URL is right there. The QR code is there, and it's ready to ask questions. Many of the questions that are asked and answered are from members of my team. Some have done so through different aliases like their dog. But the point is, we wanted to populate it with some content so that if you're going, you can start to see some of the common questions that we've been asked over the years. And you can post your own questions and you can answer questions as well. We hope this will be a community resource, and it's just getting started. So just as an example, you know, if we have ground-based monitors, what's the point of satellite data? HAQAST can jump in with an answer. So this progression of the HAQAST activities, I mentioned that our individual projects were really ideated before folks even applied for the grants. Those are continuing through 2025. We're just finishing the year one collaborations of the Tiger teams and starting year two. So the 2021 Tiger teams, there were 5 of them. One was satellite data for environmental justice. One was enabling access to satellite data, sort of a first step initiative. Communicating the uncertainties of NOx for urban scale planning issues, integrating high temporal resolution data into the Air Now platform, and examining health implications and air quality from agricultural fires. So I can't summarize all of this exciting work in the next few minutes, but you'll be hearing many of these results over the next day and a half. We also have rapid response projects that were funded in 2022. One is supporting the ambassadors, as you just heard about, looking at smoke forecasts in Alaska, working with the New Mexico Department of Health on wildfires and extreme heat, looking at warehouses and air pollution impacts near warehouses, and also looking at wildland fires and incorporating the smoke into the American Thoracic Society's Health of the Air annual report. So kind of a variant on the approach that we've been using for Tiger teams, trying to have fast turnaround projects with direct partners. So the 2023 Tiger teams, this almost blank slide was there because we were hoping to be able to announce them. But the truth is we got great proposals. They were very, very highly reviewed by a team of stakeholder reviewers, and boiled down to 4 that we will definitely fund and 6 that we will almost certainly fund if the funding is available. And so because they have not been announced, we don't know exactly how many we'll be able to fund. We can't announce it here. But for those of you who are on HAQAST, we'll be having a business meeting at the end of day tomorrow, in the afternoon tomorrow, and we will announce the 6 that we expect to be funded and move ahead with planning on those 6. So, and then hopefully, maybe even over the course of this meeting, we hope to have approval from NASA to announce the finalists. So as you know, we have public hybrid meetings every 6 months, and we're thrilled to have you here. Our next meeting is going to be in Utah. It's October 19th and 20th in Salt Lake City, hosted by Kevin Cromar, who is one of our investigators working with Brian Duncan. And we're excited to spend the meeting in the West, where there's a lot of unique air quality and health issues there as well. So mark your calendars. But here we are in Missouri. Some of the topics, you all have the agenda in front of you, so I won't spend too much time, except to say that after this plenary session, we'll have breakout sessions so that you can choose between 2 different topics throughout the day. This afternoon, we're trying something a little bit new because we have 2 really high-profile issues. One is the Tempo launch, and another is the broad interest in health applications of PM 2.5 data. We're having 2 what we call discussions that will have slightly longer presentations, giving a 360 overview of some of these new activities. A poster session tonight, the group photo, a dinner, and more to come. We have, beyond our funded ambassadors, we have other partners who've been funded to attend this meeting with generous support from NASA. So I want to just welcome all of our funded stakeholders, and I think you can see it really represents a wide swath of different organizations interested in the potential applications of satellite data. And with that, I think I will hand it over to our program manager, John Haynes, and look forward to conversations through the next day and a half. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And while Jenny's getting the slides up, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Martin. Thank you to Dr. McKay. I know she had to leave, but for hosting us here at Washington University here in the Gateway City of the West and this beautiful campus. And I must say that that announcement about that School of Public Health was really energizing and really exciting, because it is something we talk about all the time, how what we do is at the intersection of so many different disciplines, from remote sensing to public health to environmental health, the socioeconomic issues, population exposures, and to have a school actually standing up, a School of Public Health that recognizes that and brings that all in, I think it's almost unprecedented. I haven't heard of it. So, and it really is where our community is going and where we're going to have to be going to answer the challenges of the 21st century. And so to see the university recognize that, it's a great way to start. So I just want to take a few moments and kind of like Tracy's slides, for those of you that are old HAQAST and HAQAST, some of this will be, you'll be like, I know that already. But I want to say a few words about the overarching NASA Health and Air Quality Applications Program, which I'm honored to manage, which HAQAST falls under, for those of you who are new to our community. And also want to update you on things that have happened since the last time we met back in Madison. So one of the biggest things that happened since the last time we met was the launch of SWOT, our surface water ocean topography mission, in cooperation with the French Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency, and the UK Space Agency. Successful launch of SWOT on December 16th from Vandenberg Space Force Base. It's going to continue our ocean topography continuity observations that we've been doing for many years to monitor sea level rise, but also do the first global survey of surface water. So that's really great. And then this community particularly, even more great, is the launch of TEMPO. TEMPO launched successfully on April 7th, just a couple weeks ago, from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, adjacent to Kennedy Space Center. TEMPO being our first ever geostationary air quality satellite that will monitor the very air we breathe hour by hour from sunrise to sunset across greater North America at an unprecedented spatial resolution down to neighborhood scale. Everything is going A-OK with TEMPO, with its telemetry right now. Isn't that right, Aaron? Okay, good. And so we're hoping to get probably first light in October-ish, probably somewhere in there. Maybe a little earlier than that. So really excited about TEMPO, and you'll see it mentioned several times in these slides because it truly is revolutionary. So with TEMPO's launch, with SWOT's launch, as to our constellation of Earth observing satellites, currently at 25, I believe, Earth satellites and sensors in low Earth orbit, continuously monitoring Earth's weather, climate, and environment for research and applications purposes, representing investment of approximately $2 billion with a B, US dollars per year, making it the largest civilian Earth observing constellation the world's ever known. Those satellites that are in the cool colors, those are the ones currently on orbit or on board the International Space Station. The ones in the warmer colors, the ones that we're planning to launch from now through 2020, through the late 2020s. And of course, TEMPO and SWOT, when they enter their prime operational mission, will color them in blue as well. It would have to be, I would be remiss not to say that this constellation, though, would not be possible without both our domestic partners like NOAA, USGS, as well as our international partners, including the Canadian Space Agency, Japanese Space Agency, European Space Agency, just to name a few. So where I sit is in the Applied Sciences program. The Applied Sciences program has many areas of focus, I think 8 currently. Of course, the most important one being health and air quality. But overall, our mission of Applied Sciences is to enable people and organizations to apply insights from our science to benefit the economy, health, quality of life, and environment. So a mission of user-centric, solution-oriented projects that apply the most appropriate science, and would be impossible to do without our partners, both at the public and at the private level, both domestically and internationally. You just see a subset of a few of literally the hundreds of partners who currently are working with NASA to apply and utilize NASA data and tools for societal benefit. Now, I'm proud to say that the Health and Air Quality Program at NASA has been going strong for over 20 years now. And people don't often ask this question anymore, but I used to get it. Why does NASA have a health and air quality program? Well, this infographic from the CDC pretty much sums it up. The impact of climate change on human health. And all of our observations of the Earth system and how it's changing are, of course, number one, looking at the issues of climate change and trying to understand how the Earth system is changing and how what our involvement in that is. And so when you're looking at this issue of climate change with rising sea levels, more extreme weather events and rising temperatures, it touches on health in every single aspect you can think of. Not only in air quality, like we think of so much, of course, in this room, but issues of disaster response, issues of food security, changes in vector environments, also changes with extreme weather events that not only lead to, of course, destruction, but also mental health impacts. I mean, you could go on and on. So as we say in the One Health concept, that we must look at the health of animals, health of the environment, and the health of people holistically to truly understand the challenges that we face. I always like to say that, and so does Helena, and so does Laura, everything's health. So you can take and look at a health facet to almost anything, but it's true. So here in my program, we support the use of Earth observations and air quality management and public health regarding infectious disease and environmental health, toxic and pathogenic exposures, implementation of air quality standards, policies, and regulations, and of course, the effects of climate change on health and air quality. I just listed a few of our major partners there at the bottom of the screen, far from exhaustive, because today we have exactly 30 projects in our health and air quality portfolio, including the 14 members of HAQAST, and that's the largest our portfolio has been in its 20-year history. Looking ahead, wildland is a big topic, not only in our nation, but of course at NASA. We are highlighted on this slide, and this was actually a slide I presented to the Chief of Staff, to the Administrator of NASA a few months ago. But we were highlighting that there was a study by Stanford that was then in the New York Times suggesting that wildland fires may be very well canceling out our successes in the Clean Air Act, particularly in the Western United States. And so NASA has taken on this challenge through a program called FireSense, which is not only an earth science program, it is a pan-NASA program, joining together our aeronautics directorate, joining together our science and technology directorate, along with, of course, us in earth science, to improve the understanding of wildfire trends. We also understand that even small fires can result in negative health outcomes, prescribed burns, agricultural burning, why we have a Tiger team on that project. So that is also another focus area that NASA is really thinking about. In addition to funding other work, for example, we have a project funded separately from HAQAST with June Wang at the University of Iowa to look at working with state agencies to improve confidence in decisions related to long-range transport of fire pollution and that impact on surface air quality. Also, with Tempo being launched, we're looking ahead to our next field campaign in conjunction between Applied Sciences and NASA research. That's going to be coming up this summer, known as STACS, led by Dr. Laura Judd, who also serves as our Associate Program Manager for Health and Air Quality, along with Helena. STAC's main work, as you see here, will be to, one, better address air quality challenges, two, provide trust in Tempo observations, and three, tackle injustices in air pollution, focused on three major cities across the country: New York, Chicago, and LA. NASA, under our leadership of Dr. Karen St. Germain, is also thinking about an evolution in our strategy of earth science at NASA, to be focused on what is being termed as Earth Action Solutions. And you can kind of think of that wildfire FireSense project that I just mentioned as kind of the first one of these Earth Action Solutions, where we want to integrate all of NASA, at least all of the ESD, Earth Science Division, into tackling the challenges that this globe faces in a much more integrated and synthesized manner. And of course, we know that if you think about it as a pyramid, it all starts with Earth system observations and our applications projects that go on, but wanting to bring those all together to have the maximum impact possible for a greater solution to our challenges. And kind of the tip of the pyramid is a new Earth Information Center. You can think of it as a mission control for planet Earth. That's how our administrator, Bill Nelson, termed it. It is not going to only be a physical center, but it's also going to be a virtual center. So it's going to be both. And it's kind of like the user forum. It's going to be for people of different levels of expertise to be able to enter and learn about NASA Earth science writ large. The physical center is going to have its ribbon cutting and grand opening in June at NASA headquarters in our lobby. And I'm proud to say that Dr. Susan Annenberg and her team at Dan Goldberg and their team at George Washington University will be one of the first projects highlighted in the Earth Information Center for their work on environmental justice activities. So we got one of the first ones in Mission Control for Earth, which is awesome. Also, this is the year of open science at NASA, known as TOPS. It's a 5-year initiative, actually not just in our science, but across all of NASA science, to foster the adoption of open science practices across the scientific community. This is a very big and important initiative, not only at NASA, but for the entire Office of Science and Technology Policy at the White House for the federal government writ large. Few other items that note, not going to go through all of these, but we do have a new head of science at NASA. Dr. Nicola Fox was named as our new head of science, taking over after Dr. Thomas Buchan retired, who had been the head of science at NASA for many years. I know sometimes it's really slow when you as PIs are trying to get information from the NSSC, but they are understaffed. And so we recognize those issues. So just ask for your patience. Remember, your annual reports, I always say this, are due 60 days prior to your anniversary date, not on your anniversary date. So please get those in if you haven't already, because we want to get your next year funding out. 2 big awards. One, Laura Judd. Laura Judd won the 2022 NASA Honor Award Early Career Achievement Medal, which is one of the highest accolades that the agency can give. And so I will give her a hand here. And for those of you that remember, Helena Chapman won it a couple years ago. So we now have both of our associates who have won one of the highest achievement awards that NASA gives. So that is just absolutely amazing. And Helena also won, and can you pronounce Helena, because you're fluent in Spanish and I don't. Okay, Quintiliano Vazquez, okay. Leadership Commitment Award, also in October 2022. So give her a round of applause. With Terra Aqua Aura, we have discussed that a lot here, as Terra Aqua Aura is going to be nearing their 3 of those end of their life. Just kind of depends at what point that is, but it will definitely be in the next 2 years at the maximum. So we've had 2 workshops focused on Terra Aqua Aura, one in November, looking at how their orbits are now beginning to drift and what the impact of that will be. And that report will be out shortly. The second workshop coming up next month is going to look at continuity needs, capabilities, and gaps on the eventual termination of Terra Aqua Aura. And that's, again, open to everybody. So you can just Google that and find out more information about that workshop. Lots of meetings, lots of presentations, lots of sessions that have been really great. Plug for GEO, our group on Earth Observations Community of Practice, which I'm proud to co-chair along with a colleague at NOAA, and Helena serves as our executive coordinator for this group. GEO, an international consortium over 100 member states dedicated to breaking down the barriers for the free and open access use of Earth observations for societal benefit. The part of GEO, of course, is very important in the health community of practice. We have bi-weekly meetings, sessions across the nation, across the world, with several ad hoc working groups formed by this community, which is now over 400 strong, I believe. It's a great opportunity to get involved and learn about things going on globally in our community, and great networking opportunities. It's open to everybody, so you're all welcome to join. No dues, no anything like that. So just go to geohealthcop.org to learn more on that. We also have Maya coming up for launch. Maya's, I think technically launch date is New Year's Eve 2024, but let's just say 2025. Maya is the multi-angle imager for aerosols. It is our first partnership between NASA and epidemiologists on a dedicated satellite mission to observe PM 2.5 in mega cities across the world and link them to ongoing health cohort studies in those cities. That is also going to be a revolutionary satellite for us coming up. Along with PACE. PACE will launch next year as well, 2024. While it will be our most advanced ocean color instrument, it's also, through its multi-angle polarimeter, going to be able to measure particle sizes and composition of aerosols. And so that's going to be a very important air quality mission as well. And looking toward the end of the decade, we are already thinking ahead and building and constructing architectures for what will be known as the Earth System Observatory, the next generation of NASA flagships that will be dedicated to the observations you see here that were laid out for us by the National Academy's Decadal Survey. The most important one for us will be known as the Atmosphere Observing System Mission, AOS, that will bring together the observables of aerosols, clouds, convection, and precipitation. And it passed its first major milestone, which we call a key decision point A, earlier this year in January. So those architectures are starting to come together. And with that, I'll stop there, and hopefully we still have 5 or 10 minutes for questions. I tried to leave some time. So thank you again, and looking forward to the rest of the meeting.
John, why don't you stay up here? Jenny, thanks so much for keeping everything rolling. And really, I think that Jenny Bradford is the silent force behind a lot of HAQAST work. So I just want to make sure we get that out. So we have a few minutes for questions before our networking coffee break. Anything about NASA's commitment to air quality and health and future plans, future missions, logistics of the meetings? Anything for our host or program manager or anyone? Yes, please. Randall.
Hi, good morning. Thank you both for a great introduction. John, I had a question for you. And admittedly, this is going to be biased. I'm a policymaker from California. But your point about influencing and informing policy for air quality, one important agency that is missing is EPA. What level of engagement are you having directly with them?
Oh, they're not missing at all. I mean, we are hand in glove, very important partners with EPA and have been for many years, including a top level memorandum of understanding between our agency and EPA. They were certainly on my slide that I went really quickly, but I don't know if we have members of EPA here. And they're certainly online, I know, but we have many members of EPA who have worked with us since the beginning of HAQAST back in 2011. In fact, I think we had 8 members of EPA attend the Tempo launch with us down at Kennedy Space Center, which was really awesome to get to see them and talk with them, including Darren Henderson, so as well, and his family. So yes, and I'm sorry if I kind of skimmed over EPA, but EPA is.
So that's great to hear. So then the question is, what are your collective thoughts in terms of more directly integrating satellite observations into the workings of EPA on the ambient standards?
Well, and again, with all of these issues, we keep in mind that NASA is a research and development agency. We are not a regulatory agency. We are not a policy agency, but we want to have our data have the most impact for societal benefit. So that's why we partner with these agencies that actually have that as their mission, including EPA and others at the state all the way up to international level. And so, for example, EPA has included NASA satellite data in their air trends report, I think every year since 2017 now. We have worked very closely on them to help identify hotspots that may help them plan where to place future federal ground monitors. We have worked with them on exceptional events, looking at if there's things from remote sensing observations that we can help inform as they're looking at exceptional event cases. Things of that nature. And so all this work continues on. But again, we're the honest broker, as we see ourselves as the honest broker of scientific data, of the earth science data, and to provide that to our partners so they can make the best decisions in what decisions they would like to make based on that data.
I have one thing there. We actually had an RSET training at the EPA a few weeks ago. Darren Henderson had a great presentation on how they've integrated Earth observations into their decision making. I can point you to that online, but it was a great presentation.
Yeah, NASA RSET, just for those who don't know, is the NASA Applied Remote Sensing Education and Training Program that offers classes on how to build confidence and skills in using NASA satellite data. I'll just, as another example, I think that there's so many examples that could bubble up, but just a couple, maybe a month or two ago, there was a big meeting at EPA headquarters to close out one of our Tiger Team efforts, integrating satellite data into the AirNow platform. So that was hosted by EPA at EPA. And the truth is, when the Clean Air Act was written back in 1970, the idea of seeing gases in the air would have been science fiction. So I think one of the challenges is this idea of what is the right way to integrate it into the existing frameworks. And to the degree that any frameworks are going to change, that's really up to the EPA.
Well, plus, we've been working with the EPA for several years to integrate our data into their, what is the Rapid Gateway, RSIG? RSIG, and Tempo actually part of RSIG. That's been a new agreement between Tempo, EPA and NASA. I mean, we could go on. So, I mean, sorry if I didn't give it the appropriate view it deserved in my.
No. We love your question, Alberto.
Yeah.
Yes, question.
And I would just kind of like to know where to find information or data on comparisons, satellite data with the real-time ground monitors.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So really, I mean, one issue about comparing them is that the satellites see the column of air where the surface sees the surface. So it's there's a lot of different ways to compare them. One is to say, well, let's just take the apples and the oranges and compare them with each other. Some is to say, let's scale the satellite, the column to surface. Some say, let's use the satellite to develop new surface methods. And I would say at this point, they are published in different papers. There's not a one-stop shop for all comparisons altogether, but you'll be hearing about those comparisons, I think, through this meeting. And I would say if you would like a one-stop shop for the comparisons, because actually we do get that question a lot, let's put it on our list and add it to our HAQAST website.
Well, specifically for deciding where to locate new samples, as you were talking about, indicating, helping to locate where we should be sampling, air monitoring.
Well, I don't know of a location, like you said, it might be a great location for that publicly, because we provide that to the EPA and they've made decisions based on that data where new monitors may need to be placed, but I'm not sure that those comparisons for that decision are available exactly.
I'm just, all right. I was just.
I mean, but the data sets are freely available. I just don't know if the products that they use to make those decisions like that were available. But it could be something we could easily, put on a one-stop.
Yeah, and I'll just make a little plug that one of my colleagues, Colleen Heck, in the poster session today, she's been analyzing some of Randall Martin's group's data on PM 2.5 in different ways for relevance, for example, to the American Lung Association design value. So I think one of the challenges is we're still trying to figure out what is the best way to be using the data products to be relevant to decision-making applications. Okay, well, I think we're in the coffee break, lots of time for questions and discussions. We will reconvene in the two different sessions at 10:15. And you can see the room numbers here. We'll be back in this room for session 2A. And then in session 2B, well, room 340. Thank you.